New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Hello and welcome to Growing Edge Live. Most of you watching know me as Allie, and for those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. Today we're doing something a little different, and I'm going to be turning this whole episode over to my dear friend, Kellee.
So honored.
Go for it, Kellee. You're the leading lady here.
It's mine now? Okay, well, welcome to this show, and it's my great honor and pleasure to interview the program's usual host. And the reason I'm doing this, I've known Allie for, gosh, I think it's been since it was in the first decade of the 2000s when I moved to Ogden. And Allie, as the founder and leader of such a spiritual center, I would go to the spiritual center, I would attend her women's workshops, her art workshops, take her Enneagram work. And she's been my teacher, mentor, inspiration, a sister. And along the journey, I've come to realize that as I observe Allie lead the way for people to heal and grow and learn, that I've just only had little snippets of her story, which is absolutely fascinating. It is, you can't make it up. It's so wild. And so I asked if I could please interview Allie. And as a result of this, as we've sort of heartstormed it and brainstormed it, and I listened to her share, I realized that we couldn't get Allie into one episode, 2 episodes, 3 episodes. It's like, what if we do a series? And Allie's entire story about how she's taken a very difficult start in a very unusual, unorthodox way and pulled threads through it that could have gone a very different direction with the history she's had. But somehow Reverend Allie Benjamin, has taken, in Britain, it's what we say is making a silk purse out of a sow's ear, which basically means you get given a pig's ear and you make a silk purse out of it. And Allie's literally taken all the threads from everything she's learned and woven a tapestry. And so we're calling this the series here on Growing Edge Live, The Golden Thread. And this will be a series of conversations that explore the moments that shape us, the experiences which stay with us, and the deeper meaning that our life experience reveal in their time. And it's never what it seems to be unless we take the easy way. Like if we take the easy way, it can be addiction, disassociation, mental illness. Allie Benjamin's way, you're going to see this tapestry unfold. So I'll give you a little introduction about the reason and the start of our first episode today. Allie's spiritual guide, teacher, and really the true heart behind this show. And many of you probably don't know this because Allie doesn't ever really talk about herself. But Allie is the daughter of a very famous woman, and that is an Olympic gold medalist in the 1964 Olympics in long jump, in hurdles,
Well, she did
Or
the
anyway,
long
she was,
jump, the pentathlon, and which includes several events. So
and
all
it was the
events.
first woman in history to walk away with 3 medals out of the same Olympics for Britain. Her father was a pivotal in Henley-on-Thames rowing, so she was raised by 2 really important, successful people whose lives required a lot of their attention. So Ali had a very interesting journey with this, and so today we're going to step into her story, and this conversation goes far beyond the legacy of her parents, because it is a story of love. It's a story of gleaning these golden threads out of situations that she understood at a very young age what was really going on. And so there's tremendous loss, there's separation, there's reunion, and then there's ultimately the weaving of all these life experiences into something Ali's brought to the world that have helped people never have their wings clipped, never get shadowed under someone else's cloud, never have the light taken away. And so, Ali, I'm so honored to have this conversation with you, and to be hosting a woman I admire so much. I'm like, I've never been more concerned about doing something right in my entire life. But thank you for agreeing, because I know that this isn't easy for you based on current events, which you'll share with us. But I'd love to start at your beginning. And we just touched on you being born into an extraordinary lineage. Oh, and not only this, but Ali's mum was so famous and so flamboyant and so fabulous that Mick Jagger was asked what woman he would want to date. And he said Mary Rand, who is Ali's mother. And she was called the Marilyn Monroe with spiked cleats. She was like, she was so sexy. And she worked for Guinness. And you can tell us more. Take it away, Ali. Tell us a little bit about who they were and how you came along and the timing of everything. And maybe you can take us up to 5.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kelly, for suggesting that we do this. It was exciting to hear the invitation, or the idea of doing this episode, and also it was a little scary because I'm so comfortable sitting in the seat you're in, meaning I'm really comfortable asking people questions. I'm just so curious about how people are and what makes them tick, and that it never has really occurred to me to talk about all this.
I know.
So it's definitely turned the tables, and so you excuse me if I fumble a little bit, because before we get going, my mother just passed away 2 weeks ago. And that has really stirred up a lot of memories. There's been a lot of press and articles written about her and her accomplishments. And I've spent the last month of her life with her. And so I'm in my own place of grief. I'm in my own place of shock, actually. I have with my mother, I have 2 sisters, and so it's been the 3 of us. And so I will try and stay on track, and I will try and stay clear and respectful to my sisters and my mother's memory, and this delicate and tender time that our family is in at the moment. But going back to the beginning, I was born in 1962, and I just had my 64th birthday. I can't believe it. I say 64, and my friends have been teasing me, sending me that Beatles song, you know, when I'm 64. And so that's been sort of a fun, but also a little painful to realize I'm that age. And I did meet the Beatles with my mother when I was
going to say. And you apparently had a Beatles haircut.
I did, and I wish I had a picture of it now because it was an awful haircut, but yeah, it looked just like this. Lots of people used to mistake me for a boy when I was a little girl. I was such a tomboy. Anyway, I was born in 1962 in Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire in England, and it was an amazing time to be born in that, you know, very different than America. I've lived in America most of my adult life. And so when I speak to Americans about the 60s, they have a similar but different awareness. I think England was different than America, but there were some similarities. It was a time of fashion, and it was a time of women really stepping into their own. And that's what I remember when I think of my childhood and my mother, is someone that was a trailblazer, someone that was very, very glamorous. She modeled. She was always in some sort of athletic competition. So we were traveling a lot. We traveled mostly around Europe, competing, and my dad and I would go with her. But a lot of those early memories before the age of 5 are like a photograph album. I just have like snapshots. But the feelings I had about my mother was that she was larger than life. She was so popular with just people from all demographics, from all age groups. She was very aware of her talents and her impact. She was born in Wells, Somerset, very, very humble beginnings. And she sort of made it out of very humble beginnings onto the world stage. And so she always had this sense of wanting to support other children that might have been interested in athletics. So she sort of combined that energy of making it, like moving out of humble beginnings into the spotlight. And she remained very aware of her roots. So it wasn't as though she took on airs or became too full of herself. There was always a sense of excitement and adventure and something new. And so I was wrapped up in all of that. I'm a painter, and I've always enjoyed painting. My dad was an artist too. And I found one of my earliest paintings, and it was a portrait of my mother. And I was probably 3 or 4 when I painted this, but it was her with her blonde hair with a crown on. And that sort of kind of is the essence of who I saw my mother to be. She was the queen. She was the famous one. She was the beautiful one. And I was the quiet one. I was the one that sort of sat there in awe of her and just took it all in from the sidelines, really.
Well, I can't even imagine what it's like to be raised by someone like that. But I imagine that as a result of that, with so much going on, so much action and activity, that even though you were a part of it, it wouldn't exactly mirror back to you who you are exactly, because they were so busy in their pursuits. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but your mum wasn't really around that much. It wasn't like she really actually raised you. So this is where the loss comes in, because, this is where we found out about this, because I lost my mother at quite a young age, and then got taken away from, my father as well. And it creates something different in a person. And it's that I'd really like to sort of invite you to share a little bit about, what it was like. Like, how could you fit in when you come from a family that's unlike anyone else's around? And so can you share a little on that for me? And then perhaps we can weave it into when you separated from your mother's story.
Yeah. It was an interesting place to be when you're part of a family, but yet you don't really feel like you connect or you fit in. I was aware that it was very different, that there was real life. We lived in the countryside. We lived in Henley, which is beautiful countryside. And so I was an only child for many years. And so my experience and my mother's life experience, really, it was like two different worlds. I was with my dad, and he was also very busy being an athlete, a rower, an oarsman, and very involved in coaching. I had a nanny from the earliest time I can remember, and I had a series of nannies. So there were these young women that would be taking care of me. And so my mother's life and all of that was very sort of distant. She would live in London, and I would live in Henley, actually Nuffield, which is a small town outside of Henley. And I enjoyed spending time with her, but I also felt like that really wasn't me. I didn't understand that world. And so I related more to the countryside, to nature, to drawing and painting, writing, making make-believe games with some of the kids in the area, the children that live nearby. And so I had a very simple life outside of that.
Something else we had in common, but you shared something with me when we were just briefing before the show, where you said, when I asked you at what age did you feel that you said something where you said at 5 years old, you could look at 5 years old and look at their lives and be like, what are they doing? Like, you saw the whole thing, like you knew at such a young age, because this is where the thread, right? It's like coming out of this is where we weave the first thread, because you drew from that experience. And at 5 years old, and I believe at 5 years old, Mum, this is when you were with nannies, this is when like nobody's about, and something happened then. And I really like to sort of, you said then until 20, it wasn't until you were in your 20s that you actually found a way to channel this, but it started when you were 5.
Yeah,
so
it did.
You said you didn't fit in, and
exactly. It wasn't just I didn't fit in to my family. I could sense, and I didn't think this at the time, but now looking back, I could sense that the world, that life isn't actually as it seems. Like there's this world, this phenomenal world where, people are going about their everyday lives, but I had a sense there was more. And so I was always interested in going deep. I had my first mystical experience when I was 5. It was an experience of union with everything, a oneness experience. And that's a touchstone for me. That sort of gave me the comfort and a sense of belonging to this life, to this world, that my family was unable to provide for me, because I just didn't feel like I could could find a sense of belonging within the family, but something happened inside me that just had me know that I belong to everything and everything belongs to everyone. And so that's one of the threads that started at age 5 that has been my lifeline. The comings and goings of my parents, and there were plenty of them because I moved back and forth between America and England after my mother left when I was 5, and going back and forth and flying by myself and really feeling that although I had a sense that my parents loved me, it wasn't obvious in the least. I didn't get a sense that I lived in a safe world with them or that they were going to really be there. So I became more strong in myself, in my relationship with the divine. And that is the golden thread that is woven through all of the work I've done in the world as an adult. It's woven through me as a young mother having children. It's wanting to help others to feel that oneness and feel that belonging to this world and to your life, even if you don't have the love that you wish you'd had from your parents, or a sense of belonging. You said something, Kellee, growing up in a family that wasn't typical. It also made a separation between me and the other kids. Like, they thought I was a snob. They thought I was someone that I wasn't, based on my parents. And so they ostracized me and made fun of me because I wasn't like them. So I always kind of, for many of my teenage years, I tried to be very different than my parents. I tried to be more rough, more raw, more kind of move more towards the mischievous side. And in an attempt to connect more fully with my peers, I wanted to dissociate from the fame and the accomplishments of them. And that's where I started to develop my own love of art and expressing myself through things I could actually make and making my space, my home beautiful. I wanted to create an identity for myself in the way
Ali,
I move.
can I pause you right here? This is where I find this so fascinating, and this is where, for our viewers, and welcome everyone, so glad you're here. There's that crossroads where, without being given an identity, some people don't find out who they are, and they not only dabble, sometimes they go all the way. You found that way into creation, right? Instead of destruction. It's like the Shiva Shakti. There's two sides of it, the yin and the yang. You can take it into the light or you can take it into the dark. And part of the reason your work today is so important is because somehow you've taken those things that do cause mental illness, that do cause addiction, that do cause dysfunction and so many things, and you wove them into something beautiful, which is why you are so beautiful. But I want, and this is why I wanted to feature you, because you show us how to do exactly what you did to survive and then thrive, and then invite other people and champion women to do the same, and so can you clue us in on, if I was listening to this and I'd been through all that, I have my own version of everything you described, what might I do? I mean, you found Louise Hay. Who is Louise Hay? What was it? What was it? What connected? What resonated that invited you and gave you hope and showed you the way? How did you find it?
Yeah, I found my way, as a child, it was through art, and as an adult, I was, especially after I had 3 children, and I wanted them to feel a sense of community. And so I was exploring ways to bring them into a positive community. And in my search for that, I stumbled across Louise Hay. And Louise Hay, she's passed now, but she was an author. She was a New Thought or a Science of Mind minister. And
As you are.
As I am. And she wrote several books on self-development, on how to heal your life, on how to understand the mind in relationship to what's showing up in your world. And so when I picked up the book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, I had this deep realization that I was more than, and I already knew this at some level, but this was like actually in written form, that I was more than my thoughts, that I was a spirit or a soul that had the ability to think, and that I could actually choose the kind of thoughts I wanted to think, because the kinds of thoughts that we think then influence our worldly experience. And so I learned to change my thinking about, life's not fair, or I don't belong, or, being too concerned about what other people think of me, or, looking for love in all the wrong places, or, some of the things that I had experienced as a child, a teenager, and a young adult. I began to gain a little bit more agency over my thinking, which therefore started to influence my experience, the people that I would spend time with, or the things I would do. Everything started changing when I realized this.
So, and this is, for me, such another important reason why I'm so glad it's you sharing this story, because I don't think that often enough we're cognizant of the fact that the thoughts we think are creating all the time. And it's funny because, we make words. How do we make a word? We spell it. And so our thoughts are in words. And so we're literally casting spells on ourselves with the stories that we're telling ourselves. And you took this story and you decided to create something out of it, that by changing your mind. And it's so important. So for anyone who's on the threshold of like looking this right down the middle where you could go one way or the other, it's like, this is why I want to hear more about this, Ali, because it's not easy to do. So people, you ask them, do you meditate? Do you do this? Do you do that? What did you actually do as a practice? I know art, it's incredibly meditative. Reading like Louise Hay, New Thought literature, joining a New Thought community, like it's like the inertia of gravity that wants to pull us into just being a sad victim with emotional, mental handicaps, or feeling like we cannot. And everything about Ali Benjamin says, I can. And tell me, what did you do?
Well, like you mentioned, meditation, reading lots of not only self-help, but spiritual texts. Those were probably the biggest inroads into really having exposure into the lives of others that had done it differently.
Excellent. And with that, we need to take a short little break. And when we return, everybody, we're going to hear the rest of the story of how Ali utilized these things she was feeling to change her mind, change her heart, and shine. Thanks, Ali. We'll be back in a minute.
Thank you.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, thesatyacenter, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
And we're back. You know,
There's sound?
Kellee, I was.
No sound.
We have sound. I'm thinking we are on, maybe our producer.
Can you hear
give
me?
us- Yes.
I can't hear you, Ali.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe our producer can give us a heads up. Can you hear us?
Okay, what's
Robert?
happened on my end?
Well, I
One
will.
moment.
I will
My
continue.
volume's up.
I'll continue talking. I wanted to add in, Kellee, I know that Robert is saying that we're both, he can hear us both. Beyond, you asked what practice is, and besides meditation and reading, there was Al-Anon. I went to Al-Anon because the marriage I was in was very dysfunctional. My first husband had some addiction issues, and so I started going to Al-Anon. And I think the 12-step programs have also been a way of for people to move outside of their stories, to move outside of some of the, the narrowness that can happen when you're living in that kind of dysfunction. And so I know that we're having some technical issues and Kellee cannot hear us. Can you hear us, Kellee? Well, we'll wait till Kellee gets back here. So sorry, it's very distracting when you have lost control of the show. Let me see. Can you hear us, Kellee? All right. Well, Kellee is trying to get on, and I will continue to okay. So, Robert, I know that Kellee is having difficulty. Maybe you could chat with her offline. And for those of you that are listening but wondering what's going on, my beautiful Kellee has lost her mic, And so it's just me, and wasn't really prepared to interview myself, but I will get into that zone right now. So Kellee had been asking me, what was it that helped me to move out of a place of feeling sort of confused about life, living in the shadow of parents who had made it or who were highly successful in their fields, but not really having the nurturance that I needed to feel safe and to feel loved. And so my life went through a lot of changes back and forth from this continent, from America, the Americas to the UK. And whilst I never really had a lot of good mirroring or good support or nurturance, I found that through my spiritual journey, my spiritual community, Al-Anon, Centers for Spiritual Living. And so when you take your life into your own hands, which is basically what Louise Hay really encourages, that you start to put your thoughts and your ideas in a direction that you want to go. You start to visualize yourself and your life the way you want to live and the person you want to be. As I started to get more inspired and empowered to create my own persona, my own personality, and have that align more deeply with the essence of me, my soul, which I was finding through the reading I was doing, through the meditating I was doing, through the healing I was doing in 12-step and Al-Anon rooms, through the conversations I was having with others. I could see that people were making significant shifts and changes in their lives, not merely by spiritual practices, but by putting things into practice, by doing things differently. And so that's what I did. I started thinking in new ways. I started speaking in new ways. I started to have different emotional responses to myself and to the people around me, because I know that people live out loud, and if they're struggling, sometimes their lives can be very messy, or relationships can be difficult. So I got a real sense that we're sort of these people, all of us have these aspects, that we've got this soul, this deep sense of our essence, and then we have a personality that we've built up over the course of our lifetime. And it's about bringing those two aspects to being one, into wholeness. And so, seeing my parents and the way they formed their lives was a good start. But then through the journey of through my young adult life, seeing that I could actually create my own life, and saw people around me doing the same thing and doing it the way I wanted to bring my own gold to the center stage of my own life, so that I could be the mother I wanted to be, the partner I wanted to be, the artist I wanted to be. And so, well, Kellee, that's really where Louise Hay took me.
Excellent. Well, I am just gutted that I missed a chunk of it. I logged back in. Rob said to log back in. So you'll catch me up on anything I missed, because I hate to miss even a moment. But so given all of that, so you're practicing this, you're exercising this, you're walking this way. You're literally taking all the things that you didn't have as a child and creating them for yourself. So it's sort of like becoming your own parent, right? And in the process, from there to who you are now and what you do today, what were some of the turning points? I mean, you can say you wanted to be better for your family. You knew you wanted to bring this light to other people. What was the turning point? What was the opportunity, because for many of us who are living a life that's not authentic out there in the world, you know, it's like to have the courage to see as the person we really know we are on the inside, and to take something that we've studied and know that we can do it. And we're going to get to your book, you know, because it's so important that to know you have the wings. Um, was there a particular moment that you had an invitation, or you took a course, or because you are a scientist of mind and you did end up a science of mind minister and, you know, founder?
Yeah. Well, there were many moments. I there's moments of great light and joy, and then there's moments of deep loss and sorrow and trauma. And I can see, as I look back over my life and the lives of all of the people that I've had the privilege to work with, people tend to really open up and share with me a lot of their experiences. And what I can see is that I got a calling at a very young age to take the more mystical path. And thank God I did, because that really has been an ongoing evolutionary journey. And so I have this deep passion for all of those deeper experiences. You know, I do a lot of retreats. I've walked the Camino through Portugal and Spain.
And studied everything.
I've studied so many things. I especially love the Enneagram. There's been so many opportunities to learn, and I'm very hungry to not only learn, but to actually put those things into practice. So lots of that along the way, like a real hunger for finding the new, but also diving into the past and the mystical things of the past. But I think the biggest points for me that have snapped me into wanting to change, or wanting to be a guide or a support to another, have been my son got ill when he was 10 years old and had a 19.5-inch spinal cord tumor. And when a child gets diagnosed with something like that, it's like everything stops. Our whole family just came to a screeching halt. And as a mother, being told that your child won't live, that and your child's alive and playing video games, and somehow you have to morph into being the mother of a child that potentially is terminal. And so that invitation led me into a deeper sense of wanting to live this life as best I could, to be the mother that he needed. And so those points when something so scary happens, it awakens something within you that I believe all of us have within us, that there's something that wants to be expressed. And for me, it was this light, this wanting to make connection with others, not in a casual way, but in a deep and meaningful way. I never thought as a young one, or even an adult, that I would be a minister. That seemed like I wanted nothing to do with religion. And so to step into that role was terrifying. But things like my son's illness, and then later my oldest son, he passed away at age 32. Those huge, terrible losses are what sparked me into wanting to live this life so full on, like paint all I can paint, hike all I can hike, meet as many people as I can meet, create art that's going to uplift and inspire, do courses that help people find themselves and understand what they're here for, even
Write
if it's
books.
write books. And so I have this such a strong motivation to support anyone around me to live their most authentic life. And so that's how I've created the Spiritual Center Satya. That's why I do the workshops. That's why I'm writing this book, Her Wings Appeared. It's because I know that each of us have the ability to dig in and find that strength, find that authentic self, that inner spark, that light, and to bring it out into the world so that you can be whomever you want to be. Like nothing's cast in stone. Like we get to morph and change and be whoever we want to be. And that golden thread of your essence, your soul, your true heart, it's right there. And it's the whole world is like wanting us all to shine in that way, to be our own golden thread and live that out loud, whether you're a florist or someone that's, laying roads down, someone that's skiing, or someone that's, jumping the long jump, or rowing, or, being an accountant or yoga teacher, whatever it is, we have the ability to be so grounded and centered in that, whatever that is, our purpose, our life, our calling, that we don't feel like there's anything missing. We feel completely equipped to meet life as it rises, whatever happens, a death, a diagnosis, a divorce, a change of job, bankruptcy, addiction. There's so many opportunities for us to say, hold on, life, I'm going to take this a bit more seriously, but to do it with a great amount of joy and integrity and authenticity.
Beautiful, beautiful. When you speak, I literally I see all the threads weaving together, and I feel this sanctuary that you create. It's like a truth and beauty laboratory, where it's just like bring all your truths and do a little of this and a little of this with some divine intervention, whatever that means to people. But it definitely, there's a power greater than our story, and there is help for the mind, and there are outlets for the frustration and the pain and the loss. And you move so quickly from the story of the loss of your, and bless you, I'm sure it's difficult to talk about, but I'm a bit more on the Christian side, and not to tout religion or anything, but just the avatar, the Christ consciousness. The metaphor is rising from the dead. And your life over and over again has had this resurrection power, whatever that is. I mean, Ganesha has it in the Hindu, it's all over the place. But hope, Ali, right? So this is where I'd like to, if I might, because we've got 11 minutes left, is I know this is a very abbreviated version, but it's wonderful to lay a template for what the rest of the series is going to be like, because I believe you can literally show us piecemeal how to start, where to go, because it's overwhelming. There are people running around doing plant medicines they don't even know who or why. If they're safe and, a way that won't interfere with their religion or their health, or it will increase it, that will. So anyway, all of these things are some of the tools that you have implemented, and then the ways that you've created them into form, where it's something you can offer to people. One of which is the New Thought centers, the Satya Spiritual Center and New Thought Church. Another is to give people who lack the understanding of their own identity an opportunity to come to you and let you put up the mirror you never had, using another scientific. I mean, you're really a bit of a mad scientist, honestly, because the way the science of mind fuses with spirit and God and heart, there is no separation. People want to separate it to make one wrong and one right. And to me, the beauty of the tapestry is that there's nothing wrong, right? It's like you're not creating this duality of us against you. It's like, show me what you've got, and I'll present to you, here's this piece that is you. So the Enneagram, if we could touch on the work of the Enneagram, and then I'm really curious to know, because I've only just recently found out about your book, the
Her
book,
wings appeared.
Her Wings Appeared. So yours appeared, and now when you write a book or you create a piece or you create a form, from my experience, you're creating an organism of energy as a channel, a conduit, a tool, a vehicle to get to the place that we, probably everyone watching this show, want to be our best, most authentic, happiest, most content selves without synthetically doing it. So please tell me, as you feel natural, Enneagram, as her wings appeared,
Yeah.
all the things.
So I'm a teacher and a student of the Enneagram, and it's been a very interesting spiritual path to
What is the
explore.
Enneagram?
It's a personality system, but more. It is based on the personality that was created through our childhood. So let's say the first 5-7 years of our lives, based on the family that we were born into and our socioeconomic situation and whatever was happening around us culturally, all of that impacts us. And so the Enneagram helps us to see who we became because of those early years. And as an adult, when you explore this path, you're better able to see who you are, and you're better able to distinguish between the personality and the essence. And so the Enneagram is about finding your center, finding your essence, and understanding why you do the things you do, your behaviors, your patterns of thinking, the ways you move through the world, what you prioritize, and how that all influences your relationships with others. And so the Enneagram is something I'm passionate about, and I have many clients that we work in that space.
As I do.
Yeah.
Rob, is it possible to put Ali's website somewhere on here for anyone that might be interested? Because if you have ever wondered who the hell you are, it's like the Enneagram is like a mirror, and there can't be any bad parts. You could see the chat. The medicine of it eradicates the idea that any part of us is flawed, is the thing.
Yes, it allows us to fully integrate and stop shaming ourselves, to start embracing ourselves, being a bit more compassionate towards ourselves and others. It is really such medicine for the soul. And what the Enneagram led me to was this book. And my book is an anthology of stories, 50 stories plus from women. I have a co-author, Diana Soroka, and the two of us have shared a lot of stories. These are all short stories that highlight or give form to moments when women found their wings. And their wings, they're not literal, but they could be. It's more of that energy that we gain access to that gives us greater sovereignty and agency in our lives. And so those wings appeared moments could happen after losing something important, after having an argument with someone. There's lots of moments when we have that shock of realizing, wow, there's something off here. I either don't like who I am in this moment, or I know I can do it differently and I want to do it differently. So those wings appear moment are transitional moments where we move to a different space, where we become more ourselves. And so in writing our stories, and this is what Diana and I are going to be doing with this book, we're taking it on the road. We're going to be helping other women write their own stories, to identify their moments where their wings have appeared. And they may be completely unconscious about how many times their wings have appeared and carried them into higher places. And so once you're aware that you have wings, you're more equipped to use them. And,
Absolutely.
And that's what happens.
Absolutely. Now, so I know that you championing women is just like your specialty, but what about the fellas? Can they have it too? Because I know a few men that have a very well-developed feminine side, and they might be covered in tattoos and pierced and everything, but it's been such a man's world that the Archangel Michael and Gabriel, they were all typified as men. So, gentlemen, you're welcome too.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my work is for women, and I do lead an amazing women's group, and the book is called Her Wings Appeared. But this is equally it's for all people. We all have masculine
and the Enneagram feminine. Also. Excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah. We have masculine and feminine energies, and these stories, as well as the teaching of the Enneagram, help us to distinguish these masculine and feminine energies within us, so that we can merge them and use them and tap into them, dip in and dip out when life presents a situation where we need a bit more receptivity or softness, or we need to harness our masculine energy and be more proactive or direct or initiatory. And so as we start to understand who we are as a energetic being, we can then move into spaces where gender, where masculine, feminine, all of that, it sort of just dissolves into us being our natural essential self.
Which kind of levels the playing field on this whole gender battling that's been going on. It's like, and this is what I love about your work, because it is about unification rather than creating further, because so many religions, it's like there's good and bad and right and wrong, and it creates a bigger rift, where the science of mind teaching everyone how to do it their way. The Enneagram, I think for people today, is such a powerful inroad. And it's not like astrology, people. It's like you'll get asked a whole lot of questions in a bunch of different ways to really hone in on who you are, how you move in the world. And I know that, first we have to be grounded, and then we have to fly. And you seem to be able to take us from earth to sky and everywhere in between. And we're winding down the clock now on our podcast today. But Ali, I just have to say this has been absolutely an honor and fascinating. Like, I'm hanging on every word that I was able to listen to, apart from the fact that I got booted, which happened when you interviewed me as well.
Oh.
But I really thank you so much. You beautiful, fascinating, extraordinary life. And Thank you to the Growing Edge Live. Thank you to New Thought Media Network. And everyone, if you liked this, please sign up and subscribe. And thank you to all our sponsors. And Ali, any closing words for us until next time?
I love you, Kellee, and I love you.
I
Thank
love
New
you.
Thought Media Network. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Ali. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge.